Eagle has landed. We've reached the point in the project where we're going to finally join the jet ski hull to the boat hull. So we're going to use a number of different methods. It's going to have some mechanical fasteners. It's going to have some adhesive that's very strong for marine use. It's going to have some fiberglass work mating the two together. And finally, it's going to have a aluminum panel welded underneath the fiberglass hull to completely cover it. So as we use all these different methods and join the two together, it's going to become one cohesive boat. And the name of the boat is Eagle 5. If you know, you know, but it's Eagle 5. There's a few more things I have to do before I put the jet ski into the boat. And that includes cleaning up a little bit of this adhesive that was between the layers of fiberglass. You get that cleaned off. This part that's going to come through the back of the boat is going to have to be narrowed a little bit, and I want to cut a little bit off the bottom of that too. And then just for ease of getting this into the boat, I'm going to take off the jet drive and impeller and drive shaft. Take all this out. That'll take a lot of weight off. It'll make it easier to get in and out. And then the finished product of the boat, I think I'm going to fiberglass around the back of the boat and into here. So this needs to be all accessible so I can do that fiberglass work later on. Inside the whole entire tunnel, underneath the scoop, where the water comes in, drive shaft comes right through there, and then your jet drive is back here. Alright, got that nice and cleaned up now. Look how much nicer that'll be to work on. I'm going to take a little bit off there and a little bit off the top here. So one of the things that we need to really give some thought and consideration to as we mate these two together is that we have nice flat surfaces and create surfaces that are going to be even so that they can be adhered. Uneven areas, we need to fill them in with some kind of material to make sure that they're nice and flat against each other. And then we'll have a good mating surface for the two. We'll be able to get a strong bond. We knew our angle wasn't going to match up exactly on the transom. So if we look inside here, where the back mounting is, on this side, I got about 5/8 of an inch. And this side about 3/4. So I think I'm going to weld in some tapered strips to fill that in. And give a nice surface for it to seal back to, so maybe an angled piece of metal down underneath here on both sides. Here's another one. nicely filled in now. And pretty close on the angles. It's probably about 1/8 of an inch at the top. So I think that'll be close enough with the sealant and bolting it together. So we'll call that good. I think it's time to put a few fasteners in. I'm thinking I want to go approximately right here, a couple inches up from the back. But I'm hoping that we can get lined up right outside of this rib. I think we'll be able to catch a little bit of the fiberglass if we go right along this ridge on this side. I don't want to go through the bottom of the ridge because there's empty space in there that could compress that. I want to sandwich it down tightly, so we'll put it up in that section. I mean, look how short that drill bit is. You can only drill that deep, like 1.5 inches. They need to make these longer. Okay. Here's our bolts. I got extra long ones. We can cut them off later. Alright, I was marking this out. This is looking pretty neat underneath. I was marking it for the fasteners. I'm like, you know what? You gotta check this out. That's looking pretty cool from the bottom side. The adhesive is going to do the heavy lifting here. The fasteners are just going to be pretty much to hold it tight until the adhesive dries. Okay, see how this lifts up just a little bit? Probably about 1/8 of an inch right there. So I'm going to put the last bolt about right here, and then when I do this glass work up here, that's going to hold that from crunching down. I don't want to change the angle of this engine. I want that to stay the same with the drive shaft. So I don't want to crank that down. That's going to move that engine mount. So I definitely want to keep my bolts back here, and then when I do this glass work, I'm going to tie this together, and that 1/8 inch gap will get filled up with adhesive. That'll be fine. You can see at this front edge where the fiberglass goes, I can stick my hand through there. So I want to make a fiberglass kind of L shape that comes up on top of this rib. Here at the back is another spot. I also want to make kind of a flap that sits on the inside here that fills up the rest of this space. In order to do this, I'm going to have to clean up the inside of this fiberglass before I lay my mesh down onto there. Make sure it's all nice and sanded. And the same with this front. I'm going to sand off the front of that, so make sure the new material will grab onto it and hold. So I do not want the fiberglass to stick to this aluminum on the boat. I want to do that with the 5200 adhesive. So what I'm going to do to keep them separated is put tape on here for now, and that'll keep a barrier between the fiberglass that we put on. In other words, we're just taking the shape of this, but we don't want to stick to this. Underneath right here, fill in this hole. If it's good enough to hold toilet paper, it is definitely good enough to make a form for fiberglass. I'm gonna put more cardboard here. So you don't want to make this too tight when you fiberglass. It'll get stuck in here. So This cardboard is basically going to be wiggle room so that there's some give in this whole assembly. I'm going to put some little pieces on the sides too. Otherwise it'll just get locked in there and never come out. A little area for the fiberglass to lay on. So we'll glass down onto the hull here, and then it'll fold up and over. So I'm ready to lay the glass on this end and on the other end now. Should be good. We got some fiberglass cloth that we're going to be using. Just got this from the Jungle website, and it has good reviews. It says it's good for marine use. Hopefully that's the case. And then I got 1 quart of, this is a polyester fiberglass resin, and it does say marine use on it. I'm sure it's going to be fine. So we'll use that. Now it does have to be used above 45 degrees. It's a little cold in the shop here, but I think we'll plug the heater in. I have about 8 to 12 minutes working time with this resin, so I'm going to try to pre-cut some of this matte material, get it all ready to lay in, front and back, and then hopefully get it all in one shot. Just in the 8 to 12 minutes, get it laid in, get it coated. Hopefully that's going to work out. That's a good starting point. We'll mix up the resin now. For this hardener for the resin, we need 8 drops per ounce. And I have a 0.9 of a quart, that's 28 fluid ounces. So if I get half the can, I need 14 times 8 drops. 112 drops. Alright, that's kind of annoying. I don't know if that's going to work out. How about I just put in half the hardener and half the can? So that sounds like a good idea, right? They do say as you mix this, you want to scrape the sides a little bit, make sure it all gets mixed in uniformly and together. You do want to mix it up really good. Anytime you're working with 2-part epoxy, 2-part resin, you know, mix it up really good. I ended up adding a little more fiberglass here at the front edge just to build up a little bit. I did some more layers, might do some more as well, and I did another sheet here at the back. So this is the next day. Everything's nice and cured, so I'm gonna take it out, clean up the edges a little bit, and then next step, I'm not gonna glue it in yet because I have some more welding I want to do. And the welding would weaken the glue, so I have to wait to glue it until my welding is done. So I definitely want to make that stronger. I can still flex that. So do some more layers on both sides. This side's pretty stiff. Put a few more layers on. We are done with the fiberglassing part of this hull. Once we get it in place, we're going to actually fiberglass a couple areas into the boat back on the transom. But this is looking pretty good. That'll give a nice flange for that adhesive to be under. Here's how the back turned out.